Audio test, 1, 2, 3. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. Good times to be had. Step inside, step inside. I am the Old Humble Guy, your spirit guide, bad influence, sin merchant. I have many roles. Today's role is going to be making 5 cases, bottling 5 cases of our double oak rye. Just 5. I don't need more than 5 today. So today's the day we do just 5. And I need to get, the plan is to get all 5 done. I guess I could go ahead and turn on the camera, yeah? That's me. Uh-oh. There we go. The plan is to get all 5 cases done, all the way through, bottled, corked, sealed, labeled, boxed, and ready to go. I should have 17 cases in this barrel here, so maybe I'll do a couple more than 5. Maybe I'll do 8. I'll go ahead and get the other 2. But let's turn on the big cam so you can see the whole. We'll do a word for
Is your bar looking a little ordinary? Is it lacking something awesome? Well, head out to your local liquor store and pick up something extraordinary. Grab a bottle of Old Humble Straight Whiskey or Old Humble Special Reserve. They're clean, smooth, easy drinking whiskeys that taste the way whiskey should taste. From humble beginnings to an extraordinary finish, Old Humble whiskeys are what your bar needs today. Walk tall, be awesome, and drink humble. Old Humble Straight Whiskey and Old Humble Special Reserve. Get yours today.
me, ladies and gentlemen. There's the big cam. Here's the boxes that we're going to be doing. This is my water. It is mostly water. No bugs in it. That's good. So first thing I actually need to do today is pallet up these boxes here and to find a pallet that I can put these guys on. I've got a few of them over here behind the camera that I'm using. Eventually, you can't see this because it is behind the camera, but eventually I'm going to come back here with my with my circular saw. And I'm going to cut those things down. So I have a pile of pallet wood that can be used for various projects and such. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I am just off camera right now. I have several boxes that, 2 of them that are getting shipped today to a Total Wine that I sold out over the weekend. So I need to have those boxes ready to go. Hi, everybody. Because my distributor is on his way here this afternoon to grab them. And be done with them in a most fitting manner. And this is why, I mean, ideally, this is how things work. I sell out a store, and then that store places an order to replace what I sell out or sell. Yeah, even if we don't sell the store out. Like yesterday, I sold a little bit more than a case at the store I was at in Copperfield, out far northwest side of town. This was an hour away from me here at the distillery at 9 o'clock when I got off, when my sales ended. My shift? I guess I'd call it a shift. I know I'm off camera right now, but that's okay. I'm not that pretty. And I'm not really doing anything earth-shattering. I'm just taping up boxes, so you're not really anything exciting. The important part is over there on camera that I'll be getting to momentarily, the actual filling. But as far as I can tell, there's nobody here joining me anyway. So, nobody's missing anything because there's nobody here to miss. Can only miss it if you're present. This is, of course, another opportunity to get in on our Wheel of Doom and Glory that is in mid-September, the spinning of which will be mid-September. Because this is a live stream. And every live stream we do gives you a chance to chat, participate, ask questions, make comments. Yo, old humble guy, you so fat. You so fat, your butt has its own area code. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, don't be that lame. Come up with an original fat joke. One I haven't heard before. In middle school. Lames. But I get my corks from way over here. I had the camera angle set up like it is because to the left and right are my open doors, my open bay doors to the distillery. And if I have the camera pointed in either direction, if I have it like over here angled this way, I might be able to do that. Put the camera over there and angle it this way. You can kind of see the full operating floor. But then I'd have to move the computer over there, and I've already got the power cable taped down. Let's see here. How far can it shift in that direction? Now, Saturday, or later this week, I'm not sure which day. Later this week, I am going to come in here. I need to come in here and I'm playing with fire if I do this. Y'all know that, right? if I move this camera to right here, how's that look? Did I lose the video entirely? No, that's actually not so bad. So you can actually see, yeah, you can pretty much see the entire operating floor. Yeah, that's nice. My stills there in the background. That's pretty. I like that. Okay, cool. That's not bad. I might even angle it up just a hair. See, I can't turn my computer around because it's actually taped down. So that it doesn't slide. So the cables don't move and slide off. But I can move this to give a little bit. Yeah, that's good. I like this angle. This is good. And I'm gonna knock it up just to, nah, I'm not gonna knock it up at all. No need to knock things up. This is Texas. That holds long-term consequences if we go knocking things up in Texas. I can move my soundboard out of the way because we don't need this here right now. So you go up here. That is cardboard boxes, cardboard box. Is this cardboard boxes? Yeah. I got 2 boxes of cardboard boxes. I got 2,000 something bottles. All right, I think we're good to go. I think it's time to get started bottling stuff up. What say y'all? You ready to bottle things up? Let's bottle things up. Because, you know, it's how men do things. We bottle things up, press it down deep inside so that it never comes out. Feelings are for chumps. I mean, wait. Leaking bottles of whiskey. That's what I meant to say. Leaking bottles of whiskey, not feelings. I mean, obviously, we all have feelings, right? We're not talking about bottling up feelings. We're talking about bottling up whiskey. We don't bottle up feelings. We're not those kind of men, are we? Feelings are for women. Oh, Lord. Lord help me. All right. I got some stuff off my tabletop over there. Time to get our box unboxed with the bottles in it and to get cracking. So I would like to welcome anyone and everyone who is joining me tonight, this afternoon, today, and offer a reminder that tonight we are embarking on a fun one. Our whiskey happy hour is going to be a historical whiskey happy hour. We're going to be talking about Spiro Agnew. Why on earth would we talk about Spiro Agnew? Well, if you're like most people, you don't really know who Spiro Agnew is or what all that went down. Why? I mean, it was a remarkably dramatic time in American history. At the end of Nixon's administration would have been the beginning of Spiro Agnew's administration, but federal prosecutors had to do some stuff to. I mean, they had to get rid of Spiro Agnew before they could get rid of Nixon, because if they'd have gotten rid of Nixon first. All right, a little taste test before we start. Just a little sample there. It's a little warm. But that's just because it's been sitting there. Tastes great. All right. So first thing we got to do is I've got to get the air out of the line because this has been sitting idle. So there's air. That's all that foamy stuff that comes out first. That's air. So when I fill these guys up, there's going to be a lot of air in these bottles. So it's going to be extremely cloudy. It doesn't normally start off. I mean, it's not supposed to start off cloudy. It's not supposed to be cloudy, rather. It always starts off cloudy. And this actually isn't terribly cloudy because I did a good job of venting. So check that out. If you can see it, well, you can't really tell. There's some bubbles in there. There's a little bit of cloudiness. If I bring it really close, you may be able to tell. There's some bubbles inside there. But it's not as bad as it normally is. So that's kind of cool. It's not quite as bad as it normally is. It's pretty cloudy. It's more cloudy than I like it to be. But if it's too cloudy, what ends up happening is the air takes up some volume where the whiskey should be, so that when the whiskey settles, when the air settles out and the whiskey settles down, I end up with too little volume in my bottles. And we don't want too little volume. We want right at 750 milliliters. If I'm packing them at less than 750, then I want, you know what I should do? I should have the camera opposite. I should have the camera right over. Should I have two? No, I can't do a two-camera mix right now. I can't do a two-camera solo mix. I actually have to have a producer to do a two-camera solo mix, or to do a two-camera mix. Anyway. But yeah, I want these bottles to be right at 750. If they're not at 750, then the TTB and CABC get kind of cranky. They don't like it when you bottle things and say that it's one thing and it's really something else. They don't like it when you make a whiskey that's not a bourbon and call it a bourbon. They don't like it when you call it 750 and it's really 745. They really don't like it. They're less upset when it's 755 and you call it 750. As long as you pay taxes on the proof gallons that you process. But if you're selling people 745 and you're calling it 750, they really don't like that, because that means the customers are getting gypped. But they're not so upset when you sell them more than you tell them you're selling them. Who's on the party today? Easy Street with Jim's in the house. Taste before you start. Reminds me of the guys that travel to small farms to teach butchering. I was about to say, better. I hope if they travel to small farms to teach butchering and they start off with a taste of what they're butchering, that would be kind of gross. Yes, we start off with a taste and they like chop off the ear. Nom 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 nom. You always need to taste the goods before you start butchering the cattle. Nom 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 nom. Yeah, yeah, Jim. That's a little what is that called? Quality control. That's what we call it. Just a taste. I mean, it's about the same amount that I feed people when we do tastings at stores. About a quarter of an ounce. I imagine, not having done it, the guys that go from farm to farm to teach butchering, they have a little shot, maybe to calm their nerves, maybe, because that's a heavy duty job that they've got with the butchering. I mean, I've done it with chickens. I've helped harvest a pack of chickens. Can y'all see what I'm doing over here at the table? Yeah, you can see the what is that, a shot after the, what is that? Oh, after the gun. I don't think they want to sample a shot of the gun either. But just, a little sample a little. All right, so that one was a little bit over full. So I dropped a little bit out and added a little bit from the other bottle that was also a little over full. There's a spot right here at the base of the neck. Oops, green button. There's a spot right at the base of the neck where I want the whiskey to come to. I don't mind if it comes just a little bit above it, but it can't be too far below it. If it's too far below it, then the average, this is the spot right where the neck meets the shoulders right there. That's where, that's the fill line for these bottles. And you can see this one and this one. This one's just right at the neck, and this one's just right above, right at the shoulder, right above the shoulder line. These two are perfect with each other, and these two are right at perfect as well. Right at perfect. All right. So I just posted up a video on the update of our September giveaway because I have the bottle, the sample's filled. Next week I'll be finishing the box. I'll be painting the box or sanding the box down and painting it. Next week I'll also be building my bar here in the shop. I was going to do it Saturday, but I think I'm going to do some stuff at home on Saturday. These are just a little bit over full, but I can't really. I mean, we're talking spare milliliters at this point. But the thing is, 1 or 2 milliliters adds up over time. When you're bottling up 1,000 bottles, 1 or 2 milliliters can cost you a couple of cases of whiskey. And a couple of cases of whiskey, for a large company, that's not that big of a deal. But for me right now, that's a big deal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Sweet. So I try to be pretty tight when it comes to the fill line and it comes to overfill. I don't want to do too much overfilling. It's not a perfect science. We're talking fluids and time and timing. This machine splits one stream into 4 streams to fill 4 bottles at a time. What you got over here, Jen? Sorry. They drink bourbon before they make the first cut. See, that makes perfect sense to me. And probably after the last cut as well, is my hunch. There we go. These are about right. Like I said, it's not a perfect science when it comes to the bottling volume. It's really close. They give us, I think 10%, which would be 7.5 milliliters of variance. And a milliliter is not that much. We're talking quarters of ounces. You can see it in the syringe, the little milliliter marking. It's not that much. And 7 of them is not much. But it's also what's the damn word I'm looking for? Visual presentation on the shelf when the whiskey, if the whiskey is below that fill line by any significant amount, it's noticeable on the shelf, especially if one bottle is more than the other or less than the other. Wrong is fine as long as it's consistently wrong. But if you have one that's right next to one that's wrong, or several that are wrong next to one that's right, the one that's right looks wrong, and all of the ones that are wrong look right. But even worse is when you have just different ones that look bad. Look bad. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How do I have 1, 2, 3, 4? How do I have an extra box up here? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Oh, because I can't count. That's why. I thought I was off. I thought I was trying to get an even number of boxes or an even number of rows set up. So I did this last box as a single instead of a double row. I got, I think, 6 boxes queued up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 8 boxes queued up. So I want to be doing an even number of bottles and an even number of rows. It's an OCD thing. It's not really OCD. It's a, what would it be? Because I'm not OCD. It's just organization. That's it. It's how I keep count. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all 12. So every one of those rows is a case. And that's how I keep track in my mind of how many I've got going on, how many I've done, how many I had to do. It's a process. So anyway, Spiro Agnew. Like, most people don't know the depth of his corruption, what he was doing, and the drama that was involved in his removal, because, like, the prosecutors that were working on Spiro Agnew's corruption case knew about Watergate, and they knew about what was going down with Watergate, and they knew about how that was progressing, and they were looking at the facts of the case, and they were looking at it going, if we don't get this guy out of office, he's going to be president. And if he becomes president, we can't indict him, because there was the whole, can't indict a sitting president understanding from justice, from the Department of Justice, even back then in the I think that's where it was kind of established in the 1970s, this memorandum of understanding that you can't indict a sitting president, which is kind of what Mitch McConnell or Rudy Giuliani said. You impeach him, then you indict him the next day, but you can't indict him while he's in office. So it's a fascinating story, and it's kind of an untold story in the whole Watergate saga, because Watergate was such a big damn deal that, and there's a lot about Watergate that a lot of people don't understand as well, but that's just because of history and stuff. They cook odd parts of sample, snooter to the rooter. Snooter to the cooter, rather. Yeah. That makes sense. I believe it. You take home the, when I worked at Arby's, and yeah, as much as I shit on Arby's, deservedly so, they're not good food. They're adequate food. I used to work at Arby's when I was in high school. The only job I ever walked out on, because the manager was a complete and total shit, didn't give us the tools to do the work we needed to do, had me emptying out a fry bin without, I had to he didn't give me a rolling one of the rolling buckets to empty the fry pit with, and I need a rolling bucket to empty this thing out. He's like, no, you can just pick it up and carry it or slide it. I'm like, dude, that's not going to work. It's going to tip over and we're going to have a mess. He's like, no, you can do it. This was the last day on that job. And guess what happened? It tipped over and spilled in the back hallway. And I told him, this is your mess. You're cleaning it up. I'm out of here. I grabbed my hat, left the apron, and I walked the fuck out of that place, and I never returned. Like, I can't believe you left me to clean this up. Like, well, if you'd have given me the tools that we needed to do this, you wouldn't have had to clean it up, you jack off. That is your I told you so mess. Anyway, the point of this was that, they have their deli slicer there, and the meat, when you slice the meat, little shavings come off behind the blade. You slice it through the blade, little shavings come off and comes into a little catcher. Those little meat shavings would go home to my dog. I'd save a little bit here and there. It wouldn't be much. Maybe a quarter pound of meat shavings over the course of a 6 or 8 hour shift. However long we were there for the day. But my dog loved it. She loved it when I came home from working at Arby's. Because I smelled like meat. They have the meats. And I smelled like them all. That place. That particular Arby's is now an insurance office for like Lone Star Insurance or something like that. When they had really roast beef, yeah, I mean I think I worked there then. They had these big old loaves of roast beef. Like it was a big old roast, and we would pop those bad boys in the ovens in the morning, and we would cook, I don't know, 8 a day, something like that. If we had one left over from the day before, we would wrap it up in plastic, seal it up for the night, put it in the chill box, and it would be the first one we used in the morning. We'd always make sure we had 8 for the day, though. 8 in the morning, 8 in the evening, if I recall. God damn, that was 30 years ago. That was forever ago. I liked the place. I liked working there. I am a full-on addicted to horsey sauce, without question. My favorite sandwich was the beef and cheddar. It had the cheese and the Arby's sauce and the horseradish. I'd add the horseradish and those onion buns, those onion loaves. I haven't had lunch yet. Damn it. Quit talking to me about food, Jen. I haven't had lunch yet. You're going to ruin me. All right. A little bit of transfer there. That'll work. Those are good. All right. 2 more cases. Then we do the next 2 bits. Sealing and labeling. But yeah, so anyway, that's the topic for tonight. And I thought it would be particularly topical because it's current events adjacent, even if it's not. I mean, it's not current events, obviously. It's historical in nature, and I love my history. but it's current events adjacent. And, you know, people want to talk about Hunter Biden's laptop. Fine. We can add Hunter Biden's laptop into it as well. We can add Hillary Clinton's emails. And we can even add the former guy's security clearance breach. He's so fucked. But mostly, you know, the historical context of Spiro Agnew and his shocking corruption out of the vice president's office. I mean, dude was actually taking cash payments in duffel bags in the vice president's office. And people don't understand how shockingly corrupt that dude was, and why it was such a big deal to get him out of office before all the Watergate mess came down. I mean, he full on threatened. He wanted to push a full on constitutional crisis. Go ahead and indict me, is what he said in several speeches. Like, he was daring Justice Department to indict him, which they were ready to, but they cut him a deal, which I find to be a particularly interesting in context of this day and age that we're living through. But to know more, you got to tune in tonight, because I'm not going to get all into it today. I'm still reading through a lot of the documents that I pulled down to refresh my memory on this particular instance in American history. Because it is a doozy, a whopper. The bun and horsey sauce is the best. The brown stuff is just, yeah, the brown stuff, that Arby's sauce, yeah, that's kind of, you're kind of right. It is kind of weird. And I mean, it's just weak barbecue sauce. That's all it is. Kind of a sweet barbecue sauce. Damn it. It's not a very good barbecue sauce as far as barbecue sauces go, because it's really sweet. It almost tastes like brown sugar with a little yeah, I hit the button a little bit too hard that time. I should have stopped. That's what she said. I hit the button a little bit too hard on that last fill. And Jen, I think there were like 4 investigations. There might have been 3. I know for sure there was at least 2, but there was the one full-on FBI investigation where the FBI said that documents had gone through the home server that they shouldn't have, but documents had gone through the server that they shouldn't have, but it didn't rise to a criminal offense. It was more negligence than it was negligence, not intentional, which is not a good look for a Secretary of State to be negligent when it comes to emails. But I think the biggest issue, the reason it was negligence, is because it was like an email thread that had, you know, that she was, I don't know, it was a bunch of fucking nonsense is what it was mostly. There we go. That's a good one. These get dumped a little bit. But it certainly wasn't 11 cases of classified documents. And it certainly wasn't accepting payments of money, cash money, in the vice president's office. I mean, damn, Spiro Agnew was he was a savage fucking gangster is what he was. He was an absolute savage gangster. I mean, the depth of his corruption was basically what he was doing. I think he was as a governor. I think he was governor before he was vice president. And as governor, maybe it was mayor, I can't remember. What he was doing is basically taking bribes for approving building permits and zoning changes. Oh, look here. My distributor just showed up. So he was taking bribes for like zoning permits and things like that. And, that's against the law as governor, obviously, or mayor, or whatever the hell he was. I'm going to mute my microphone real quick while I talk to Sam, my distributor. So you may see what's happening, but you won't hear what's happening. We're back. A little business meeting that I had to attend to. Thank you, Jen, for letting us know. Hey, Square Table, what's up, brother? Let's roll through chat real quick while I'm here. In fact, I'm going to take my chair. I'm going to sit down, and I'm going to tend to the business of tending to business. Let's switch camera to, which one is it? Not that one. This one? Come on. There we go. Camera's on. All right, folks, let's look at chat. Since we're here, let's look at some chat real quick. Square Tables in the house. Cheers, STD in the house. Bye, Jen. I hope you enjoy yourself. All right, so this is what we're doing. I'm bottling up our double oak rye, which is a delightfully brown, reddish brown concoction. I don't know if you can see that from where you're at, but it is delightful. And that was, yeah, my distributor just popped in, had a couple of cases they needed to pick up for a store that I just sold out this last weekend. I've been talking about what we're doing tonight, which is our live show, our Wednesday night live show, where we talk about, tonight we're talking about Spiro Agnew, which has been on my mind for current events topics lately, but also for history topics. But more importantly, I need to seal my bottles and hit them with the heat gun. So we're going to flip over to the big cam, which is right there. These are all my bottles. This is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cases. And what's left in the barrel should be another 8 cases. But for now, it may not be a full 8 cases in there. That'll be good. But I'll have another at least 6 cases coming from my big storage tank, and then I need to reorder some barrels from my contract producer, my contractor, who distills this stuff on my behalf, and then get some aging done here in the shop. The last 4 bottles right here of our 8 cases. Ta-da! All right, so next up on the things to do list is I take these shrink seals and plop them onto my bottle. So I had a guy come into the shop, not this shop, the store I was working at yesterday. This is the kind of degenerates that you deal with in the stores. Takes a sip, likes it, but then he starts going, I'm not sure, can I have another hit? He's like, we're not supposed to give people 2 samples. You're only supposed to get 1 sample. And it's only a quarter of an ounce. It's not enough to get you drunk. It's not enough to do anything really, except taste it. That's the whole point. It is a tasting, a sample. You don't go to H-E-B to get full, or Kroger's, or Safeway, or whatever grocery store you have in your city, to get full on the samples. You can if you do it right. You just kind of rotate through the sample aisles and have your, cheese and sausage and a little nip of wine here and there. You can do it. You're not supposed to, but you can. I can see chat now on my screen. And you're not supposed to do that in the liquor stores either. The samplers are not supposed to give you more than a quarter of an ounce. They're not supposed to give you multiple shots. And I'll tell people, I'm not going to give you a second shot. I'm not a fucking bartender. This isn't New Orleans. You're not buying a fucking bottle. I'm not going to feed you drinks. You can take as many samples as you want when you go home with a bottle, dipshit. But if they buy a bottle, and I know they're buying a bottle because I sign the bottles when I'm in the stores. If they buy the bottle, I'll be a little bit more charitable with them. So anyway, this DGen comes in. He tries the sample. He kind of likes it. Asks for another. I'm like, it's the end of the night. I don't really care. I give him another one. And he goes, that's going to be a hard pass. I really don't like it. I'm like, you know what? Fuck you. You like it enough to have two sips, but not enough to drink it, not enough to buy a fucking bottle. Those people they drive me absolutely nuts. I'm generally not a cranky person. Well, that's a lie. I'm generally a fairly cranky person, but I get along well with others for the most part. I get along fairly well with others. I just don't have a lot of patience for just nonsense, you know? I don't want to hear your story about your great uncle who got scoliosis, so you don't touch it anymore, even though you're here in the liquor store buying some rot gut shit. I don't want to hear your story about how you drink whatever garbage water you drink because that's what your great grand aunt drank and she would slip it into your bottle when you were a baby and you've always had a taste for it and blah blah blah, even though it only costs $7 a bottle. Man, I'm here working, man. I don't need to hear your damn stories. I'm the one presenting whiskey to you. I'm not here for your entertainment. And there's I cut my hand on something. Odd. I wonder where that came from. I feel for the tasters who end up in these positions and they don't have the skill set to extract themselves from these conversations. And it's actually really not hard. It's hard to do it when the store's not busy. But it's really hard, it's really, really easy to do it when the store's busy. Because all you have to do, and this is a real simple technique, it works in a bar, it works in a store, it works pretty much everywhere. You're sitting there talking, it's easier to do on the small can right here. Go to the small can. Let me show you how easy it is to do this. When you're talking to someone, and you're ready to get out of the conversation, watch this. You're talking to them, you're making eye contact, like they're talking at you about some nonsense, blah 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 blah. You look away from them to the next person, and go, "Would you like to try my delicious whiskey?" And then this person gets that idea really quick that you're not talking to them anymore. You're talking to them, and then you look back and go, "Hey, have a nice day." And you go back over here, and you invite this person in to have a drink. And they may keep yapping, and you could go, this is my delicious, blah, blah, blah. And you go into your sales spiel with that guy, the new guy. And they get the idea. And there's a lot of folks that don't have the skill set to extract themselves from those conversations. If the store is actually kind of slow and not very busy, the other way to extract yourself from those conversations is to go, excuse me, I have to use the restroom. And you grab your bottle and you leave and go to the restroom. Or somewhere. You don't have to actually go to the restroom. You can just go pretty much anywhere you want to at that point. But you give them 30 seconds to get the hell out of the store or get the hell out of your space. And then they stop bothering you. It works out well that way. They get the clue. You can move along with your life. Everybody wins. All right, so now we got the heat gun. I'm going to grab an extension cord. An extension cord. It used to be under tension, but it is no longer under tension. Last time I was here, it was raining so damn hard. We had water come all the way up to here. You can't see where I'm at. Had water come all the way inside the distillery, like 1.5 inches deep. And this extension cord was used on the fan to dry out the floor. How wet it got in here. That's what she said. It was so wet. That's what she said. I'm going to get myself a drink of soda water. So Square Table and gin have both been added one more time to the Wheel of Doom and Glory. Which now has probably more than 200 slices on that wheel. I need to get my lazy Susan over here. So, no, actually, tonight, I do not intend to talk about the former guy unless it comes up in chat. I am, however, going to talk about Spiro Agnew's plea deal, how he got out of jail time, and how he avoided the worst of the consequences of his crimes. Because he went down claiming to the very end that he didn't do anything wrong, which is, you know, also what Nixon did. I'm not a crook. I didn't do anything wrong. Except, I don't think there's a lot of people who really do understand what Watergate was and why it was such a big damn deal. Maybe that's another topic for another day. Talk about Watergate. Because I don't really know a whole lot about Watergate and why it was a big deal. Because all that shit happened before I was born. And, you know, it was also before the time of mass media and 24-hour news cycles. So it was kind of a slow burn as far as it went with the story. And there's actually a local comedian here, Rob Mungle, who has connected the dots from Watergate through to George W. Bush. And if you look at all the details of the people involved and the stuff that happened, like if it weren't for Watergate, we wouldn't have had Bill Clinton's impeachment, because the people, you know, Watergate led directly to Gerald Ford being president, Gerald Ford not running for re-election. And because we had Watergate, we had Gerald Ford, and because we had Gerald Ford, we had Jimmy Carter. And if we were Watergate, we wouldn't have had Jerry Ford. And without Jerry Ford, we may not have had Jimmy Carter. And without Jimmy Carter, we don't have Reagan. Without Reagan, well, the people involved with Nixon, Reagan doesn't have his campaign team. And everything gets shifted by 4 years, is basically the argument that Mungle makes. Everything gets shifted by like 4 years. And then, without Reagan's Iran-Contra, those guys, I can't remember all the details. I'm going to have to get him on the show and talk about the connections between campaigns, because it was a fascinating step-by-step analysis through history. Good caffeine. Good caffeine, good sugar. I need to set my alarm because I need to get out of here. And hey Siri, set the alarm for 2 o'clock. I need to get out of here at 2 o'clock. Thank you, Siri. So anyway, fascinating step-by-step analysis, because you know a lot of the people involved in George W.'s administration were also involved in George H.W.'s administration. And a lot of people from H.W.'s administration were involved with Iran-Contra in the Reagan administration. and a lot of people in the Reagan administration were involved in Nixon's administration. So they all like touched elbows, generationally speaking. And a lot of there were several folks from the last administration that were involved in the Reagan and Bush administrations and campaigns. And it was just really fascinating the way it all progressed over the course of 40 or so years. Ugh. But only if you're fascinated in that sort of historical stuff, which I am. Give me the burps, make me gassy. So the next things that I have coming into the shop are my Boomtown Bourbon, distillate that I contracted with Gulf Coast Distillers here in town. Gave them my recipe. They're making our bourbon for us. I'm going to distill a portion of it as well, so that a portion, it'll all be distilled here in Texas, and some of it will even be distilled by me. And then hopefully in the next 12 months or so, I'll get my own batch, my own equipment fully up and operational here in my own shop. But if things progress as I expect them to over the rest of this week, if things continue to progress as I expect them to, then I have a solid 5-month supply of bourbon going into barrels, and then another another 5-month supply right after that. It's a very exciting time to be at the Old Humble Distilling Company. In 5 months from September, October, November, December, January. So in February, I should have another batch of bourbon coming if I don't have my bourbon. If I don't have my stills operational by the end of the year. I think I may just have 2 orders of bourbon coming from Gulf Coast, and then my equipment will be up and running after that on my timeline, if my timeline's working out right. I need to lay out my schedule for tastings, or try to set a schedule for tastings in September and October. I don't think I'll be able to do it because I think they're already being set up. The big guys have already got tastings scheduled. I got to find out where I've got product as well, which has been a never-ending struggle from our distributors. Just knowing where my product is, so frustrating. But usually I'm doing my tastings, at least coming into the fall, I'm usually doing my tastings early in the week, which is tough. You know, working nights. I mean, basically that's what I'm doing now. I'm working nights, 5 to 8 p.m. And sometimes later, 10 to midnight, like tonight. I'm just gonna do my work. If anybody has questions in chat, feel free to shoot them to me. Say hi. If you're wondering what the hell it is I'm doing or what it is I'm working on, say hi. Let me know you're here. I will let you know what's going on. I should have some background music, like a medley of songs that I can download from the free server. The YouTube licensing site where you can get all the music. Ow! That was hot. Hotter than I expected to be. Then there'd at least be some music in the background. But I'm not going to play any fucking music that requires a license because CCAP, or whoever the fuck it is going to harass the shit out of me. Do an entire episode called CSAC Sucks. Fucking extortion artists. We're all like, you're using music that needs our license. Like, we're not using your music, suckers. You fucking shitheads. Absolute fucking worst. They see you did a live band. So they're like, I saw you're doing live music. You need a license for that. I'm like, fuck you. It's original music. Suck all of the dicks. Go away. Eat a taco pocket. A pocket taco? Whatever you call it. Velvet taco. I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. I burned up my thingamajig here. This is what happens when the heat gun gets too close to the bottle and the air gets too hot coming out of the heat gun. It melts the plastic. I mean, that's basically what I'm doing is I'm melting the plastic, but I'm not supposed to melt it all the way through. It's just shrinking it up. So I need to keep this moving. Oh, goodness. What we got here? Hey, yeah, I'm back. Jody, what's up, my man? You're not Jody, you're Joe. Jody is Bourbon Bounty, I believe. Doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm back. And what we're doing now is going through, well, you can see I'm sealing the bottles up. Everything we do in the shop is a manual process, if you hadn't figured that out yet. Everything that gets done by hand. I don't have any machines that'll pull this stuff off for me. Not yet, at least. But I am looking forward to the day when I can replace these tables with some modular units. What I would love to have is a setup where we have a holding tank here that feeds into a bottling machine on a conveyor belt, and all I have to do is put bottles onto a little holding bin, into a little holding trough here, and it just feeds them through the little conveyor belt, comes in here, they get bottled up, corked, sealed, and run through the label machine or the labeler, and then they come over here into another holding, well, you can't see it way over there, but another holding circle over there. So it'd be just this whole process where we go from, have our little filter table right here. Hell, we can even move it a little bit further up this way. But it basically just runs out to finished product. We're putting them in boxes over here. The other tables over here, we're putting them in boxes, setting them up in pallets, and boom, we're done. Bottling days, we could do 100 cases an hour with a setup like that. I did not get lazy. I get sweaty. And it drips onto my glasses. So I take my glasses off when I'm working so that I don't. I mean, I can see well enough. I'm probably 20, 25, 20, somewhere in that neighborhood. The turntable for the usage, yeah. This is probably the best hack for the distillery that I've ever gotten. We had this at my house, our Lazy Susan. We had it at the house for our kitchen table, but I stole it and took it here to the distillery because it works really well for exactly what I need it to work for. And I wish I was clever enough to be able to build some kind of a stand so that this would be in the right spot all the time. But it's not quite, it's kind of an art. It's not quite mechanical. You know, I haven't figured out how to remove the variability. I mean, theoretically, there's like, you know, you could do it with like heat tunnels and stuff like that, but I just hadn't figured out how to, I haven't figured out this without the manual process involved. I know they have heat tunnels with conveyor belts. You can run this stuff through. But not quite at the point yet where I could be living the dream. I've got two big financial expenditures, financial outlays coming up before I can start looking at upgrading equipment and stuff like that. We've got a lot of manual work still ahead of us. And I'm hoping I have some logistical support in the next 6 months that'll help us have more regular cash flow coming through. I mean, you know, small businesses, they're not easy. There's constant challenges with cash flow, constant challenges with taxes, constant challenges with record keeping and bookkeeping, and you know, it's when I was at the bank, if we needed something, we just got it. We just went and did it. Whatever. If we needed print materials, we just called up the print shop, the graphics department, said, "Hey, we need flyers for our, you know, industry convention. We need an ad. We're putting an ad in the bulletin, whatever, not bulletin, the fucking whatever it's called, the book for the convention, the agenda thing tells you where the directory. That's what it is. The 2022 Southern Convention, Southern Cemetery Association. Those were always fun. Lively Affairs Cemetery Convention. The band takeover. No, I can't replace the seal with just a band that goes over because it still needs to be sealed. Yeah, it still has to have the safety seal. Most brands that have the band over the top, that just the band that goes over the adhesive band that goes over top is also a twist off, or they have some other seal on the bottle. And I can't do my bottles without the seal over the cork. But it's not too bad, you know, in bite-sized amounts. You know, doing 5 to 10 cases at a time. This doesn't take too terribly long to do it. I've only been here for an hour. What is it? 12:40. I've been here almost 2 hours. Since 11:15 is when we started. So hour and a half. I filled the bottles, corked the bottles, sealed the bottles. So I should be able to get them all the way done before I have to get out of here at 2 o'clock. I should be able to finish the labeling by the time I get out of here in an hour. Because what I also have to do after I leave here is go to one of my retailers, get a printout of my inventory to see what my sales were last week. Grab some lunch, shower, clean up, and then head all the way the fuck across town to League City, Friendswood, the Baybrook Total Wine to do a tasting there on the southeast side of town. And for those of you who are not familiar with how Houston is laid out, if you look at the face of a clock, Humble is right around 2 o'clock, 1 or 2, right around 1 o'clock on the face of the clock. Baybrook is, Friendswood is right about 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock on the face of the clock. And it is about, I want to say 40 miles from my house. Just a local commute. Just a local commute. Oh, that reminds me. I've got a gig I need to apply for. I'm going to do that right now. While I'm thinking about it, we'll switch over to Facecam. Anybody wants to chat real quick, I'm right here. Ta-da! Hello, that's me. I got to answer a quick email. Real fast. And Steve, that puts you on the list as well. You, Square Table, and Easy Street with Gin. All three are Fall Creek Homeowners Association wants to hear from me. Petition for commercial parking. No, thank you. That's the one. Okay. I've got to answer a quick oh, here it is. I got to answer a quick email. While I'm here, I'm going to do this because I'm thinking about it. If I don't do it now, I'm going to forget about it. What happened to video? Oh, there it is. Okay. How weird would it be if I was like here doing this, working, and then like somebody just shows up and I get it all on camera. Some weirdo being weird who's not me. oldhumblewhiskey.com. Sorry, guys. This is something that has to be done. And it has to be done right now, as a matter of fact. Addie Pakal, Bourbon Ron. Cheers, guys. I'll put you back on the big screen. You don't need to be looking at my big old face. Let's put you back on the big screen so you can see everything that we've done, everything we have left to do. Right now, I'm answering a quick email that needs to be answered related to some stuff going on later this month. 6. And it's time sensitive, and I forgot to do it yesterday. So there you go. Tonight, as a reminder, we're talking about Spiro Agnew. Date of birth. Kind of a lot here. Halfway through, though, almost done. Talking about we should do what? What are you talking about? We should do what? Yes. 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 next? But yeah, tonight we're talking about Spiro Agnew and that whole saga. It really is far more fascinating than we give it credit for. That dude was corrupt. No, 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 no. Beautiful. It really is more. We don't give it a whole lot of credit because he was a vice president. Who gives a shit about vice presidents? But um, the fact that he was a heartbeat away from the presidency, and he was literally taking cash payments in the vice president's office for approval of business deals back in his home state, is just. Do I personally know people who worked at any of these companies? No, I don't. um, and yeah, and um, their desperate rush to get him out of office before uh, the Watergate shit broke and hit the fan. It is just fascinating. And I'll get back to these bottles in just a second. Uh, I've got to finish this real fast. It's always weird because my industry is known as is considered manufacturing because I'm making chemicals when it's really sales. People think that most of my job is making whiskey, but most of my job is selling whiskey. Um, anyway, what do we got? Do the thing where I randomly show up. You ever get into Katie wines or spirits? Not Katie wine or spirits yet. Not GS liquor yet. Uh, you've been moved out of Crosby and you're over in Magnolia now. Uh, over near Magnolia is there's a Total Wine in Willowbrook, which isn't Magnolia. That's not close to Magnolia. Never mind. There's a Specs in Magnolia bourbon bin. There's a Magnolia Specs over there on 105. That is uh, that is a place that has our special reserve. Is there any whiskey ground? Is there any whiskey ground, so to speak, like a break, like the first ever? Oh, whiskey new ground that I would like to break in the whiskey world. Um, all right, that's that. I'm done. I can get back to work. I finished answering the email that I need to answer. Um, what would I, what, what would I like to, my accomplishment? Well, I'm the first distillery from the city of Humble. The first distillery in the city of Humble. The first distillery, the only distillery up here in this area. I would like, as far as accomplishments go, there's a whole. I mean, most of the firsts have already been done. You know, the first Texas whiskey to be sold in Europe. Uh, Yellow Rose has got that honor. Let me pull up the chat window here. Uh, supply and demand. You want consumers' demands, you can supply them to make a living. Yeah. Um, I don't really want to make flavored whiskeys. That doesn't turn me on. That doesn't excite me. Um, I would like. I mean, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, there's not a lot of ground to be broken when it comes to. I mean, there are circumstances when you're competing against the others. And, when there's only so much shelf space to be had, you need to elbow somebody else out. Your inclusion on the shelf knocks somebody else off the shelf. We're not in that market environment, really, with the whiskey. There's enough shelf space to be had that adding another bourbon to the mix doesn't take somebody else off the shelf. It just, maybe Jack Daniels only has 8 slots on the shelf instead of 9. Or, Crown Royal only has 8 slots instead of 9. I've always been more in the mode of competing against myself. And that was really, that's really a departure from when I was getting my MBA. It's a very competitive, or at least it was a very competitive environment when I was in school. And, you being in the 5th place pushes people down into 6th place. And to get up into 4th place, you need to work harder, focus more, study longer, the things that the 4th place guy wasn't doing, so you could overtake that person and move up in the ranks and do all that stuff. I would love to be, at some point, the fastest growing, the largest, the most iconic, the most sought after. I would love to have superlatives attached to our business in my company. I would absolutely love it. Who wouldn't? At this stage of the game, I would really, really, really I want each year to be better than the previous year. I want each batch to be better than the previous batch. I want a business that my kids can benefit from. It's not a matter of striking out on our own and doing something nobody's ever done before. Hell, making a whiskey in Humble is something nobody's ever done before. I'm already breaking ground. Having in 5 years from now, I'd love to have a facility that's all my own, on grounds that are all my own, that is in and of itself a destination site for whiskey lovers in the state of Texas, in East Texas, to have the most entertaining whiskey venue in the state of Texas. If I were looking for a superlative to add to our distillery, that would be the one. I would love to see the story. Local distillery uses social media to expand reach beyond, uses social media to virtually expand reach beyond local customers. That's the story I'm trying to write right now. Local distillery uses social media to extend brand beyond local customers. Distiller, owner and master distiller Joseph Brita has said that it's unfair the entertainment value that can be had in his own distillery can only be had by people who are physically present. That's why they stream concerts every Friday night on their YouTube channel for free to anybody who wants to watch them. Oh yeah, it's a good time here at the distillery, says Mr. Brita. But we can only fit like 20 or so people inside the walls, and once the music's over, well, the show's over, and everybody has to go home. But the really good news is, you can go back a few days later, pop open that video, and watch the show all over again and relive those good times as many times as you want to. And we always have things come up that you can't quite get out of the house. You can't make it down to the show for a a couple hours. So pour yourself a drink at home, turn on the YouTubes, watch it from your house. No shame in that. Mr. Breed also says that that nationwide distribution is a key aspect in extending those good times to people outside his distillery. While there are still flavors that can only be found at the distillery that some people will never get to experience, they can still enjoy a nice cocktail with Old Humble Distilling Company's straight whiskey, special reserve, double oak rye, Boomtown bourbon, or Boomtown bourbon in the country where fine liquors are sold. That's the story I'm trying to write. In fact, I'm probably going to write that story, send it to the local news rags, have them print it, actually write that damn story, because I can write that story. Let me scroll back up here. Sorry about that. A couple of other stories you can get into, like so. Yeah, Bourbon Run. I'm working on a lot of those stores. There's when you look at the hierarchy of stores, like Spec sits on top of that triangle, pyramid of stores. There's Specs, and then below Specs is like Total Wine. Then after Total Wine, you have places like Zips and King Liquor, and the places that have 12 or 15 or so rooftops. And then you start going down below that, and then you have the 1 and 2 rooftop places. In the past, I've always focused on the big ones because they're, you get into you if you sell Total Wine on the whiskey, you've made 35 sales by just getting them to pick up the whiskey, as opposed to going to 35 different mom and pop shops that are one rooftop shops. It's a conservation of energy and getting the easiest, low hanging fruit first. And we've got some distribution work that needs to be done with our distributors, and I'm working on solving that problem this week. But eventually, I mean, we're not of a scale yet where we can equitably service places like Ralston's or Steve's or the small mom and pop shops. We're not really in a spot where we can service those guys. A place called Harry Potter's Liquor on the southeast side of town. Potter's Liquor Store. Harry Liquor. True story. But eventually, we'll get to a place where we have a sales team and they can go out there and do point of sale materials and stuff like that. Eventually, there. We're not there yet. We're focusing on the big ones, and that's kind of a strategy that we're working on with our. We do have our distributor does have a team that goes around town, presents our whiskey to the local liquor stores, gets them to pick it up. But most of the small guys, the mom and pop stores, will buy 3 bottles or 4 bottles or something like that, while Total Wine or Specs will buy 2 or 3 cases for each one of their stores. So even if Fire and Ice Liquor or Copperfield Liquors or one of these small shops around town buys a case, that's only one sale. That's one store, one sale, one case. If Twin Liquor picks it up, then that's like 100 stores. If they pick up a case per store, hell, that's 200 cases. And a place like Twin or Total or Specs, they do in a day the type of volume and traffic that a place like Copperfield will do in a month. The scale is not. It's not the same. It's not. It's the difference between your Etsy store and Walmart. It is, it's monumental scale. Like up in Dallas, I was at a Specs, and I was able to sell 68 bottles of whiskey at that Specs up in Dallas a couple of Saturdays ago. I mean, I've been in stores on a Saturday that didn't have customers come in the store. And in order to sell 70 bottles, I need to have at least 150 people try the whiskey, because I usually have about a 50% hit rate. And if I have 150 people try it, there's at least another 75 that didn't. 75 to another 100 didn't, which means they had 300 people come through that store that day. At least 300 people a day that I was able to engage with. And, you know, I've been in places like a Ralston's or Copperfield or some of these liquor stores where they just didn't even have 300 people come into the store. They just don't have that kind of volume. So, you know, we focus our energy where we get the most return right now. But that'll change over the course of the next couple of years. That'll change. We start pushing further and further down. It's called pushing down market. You get into smaller stores and smaller stores and smaller. And it's the reverse strategy most people use, because some people go with the reverse strategy where they try to get into a small store, show that they can sell, and work their way up. We went the opposite way. We went into the big stores first and worked our way down to get the most bang for our buck. So there you go. Next up. Where we at? Mozzarella cheese stick flavored with. That just sounds dreadful. Yellow Rose of Texas. Yeah, that's actually a liquor company here in Houston too. Yellow Rose Whiskey. They make bourbons and whiskeys and blended whiskeys, and I think they make a vodka too. Would I say that the average whiskey drinker buys on reputation or price? That's a good question. Let me walk down a little bit further into the rest. Deal with small stores and build. Yeah, and see, that's the value of small stores. I mean, don't get me wrong. The small stores are great because they've got their, you know, they've got their clientele. They're, you know, they're very much a customer focused type of place, but you know, we've got to. I can't pay rent. You can't eat good relation. You can't take good relationship to the grocery store and buy groceries and pay your mortgage and all that. I would absolutely love to be on every shelf in the state and be able to shake hands with every small store, mom and pop shop. You know, kiss babies and shake hands, do all that shit. But I ain't got time for that shit. Can't. I've got this label is Ripples. There we go. Gotta reset this one. Every once in a while, one goes on that's not quite right. I gotta make a little adjustment to it. But yeah, I mean, eventually we're gonna be in all those stores, and you know, the joy of the hunt is overrated because all you end up doing is going home with a Kentucky factory whiskey that has a special label and a good story. that same store in Dallas, I had a guy trying to sell me on this small distillery that he discovered called Buffalo Trace. When I explained to him that this is one of the largest distilleries in the country, he's like, "Oh, really? Like, their stuff is so hard to find." Like, really? It's right over there. He walks down there and he says, "Oh, it sure isn't it?" Like, it's not really that hard to find, dude. It's like here. It's everywhere. It's hard to find when they want it to be hard to find. Meanwhile, he's walking right past a craft distillery from the state of Texas that actually is like, you don't know what you don't know what value is, homeboy. Which brings to name recognition or taste. Most people, they buy on name recognition. They buy the hype. They believe the hype. They think that Eagle Rare is something special when it's just, you know, Kentucky Factory with a special label. It's a good bourbon. Don't get me wrong. It's delicious. But it's, you know, they buy the Z Top whiskey. They buy the Metallica whiskey. They buy that shitty Irish whiskey that has the that MMA fighter on it. What's it? Colin McGregor's whiskey that was originally just a shitty Irish whiskey. Then he bought the label and put his in it. And then all of a sudden, Colin McGregor's whiskey is so good. It's the same fucking whiskey. It was gross. It's bad. It tastes like it's made by an MMA star. It's you know, these celebrity brands. Yeah, I mean they slap their celebrity name on it. People buy the whiskey. People buy sought after whiskeys on name recognition. Now, if they try the whiskey, if they actually drink it, you can get them to buy it on. There's some true adventurers in the craft whiskey world that will buy stuff that they've never seen before, heard of before. I love doing that but only when I'm in places outside of Houston, like the true hunt, where you go to the distillery. We're going to in a couple. Or about a month, I suppose. We're going on a little vacation, a little camping trip outside of Lufkin. There's a brewery, a distillery, and a winery, all in the Lufkin area. Guess what I'm going to get? I'm going to go find a true, hard-to-find bourbon from this little distillery in Lufkin. I can't wait. It's going to be fun. I absolutely love doing that. And when I do my United States of Whiskey series, where I start doing the whiskeys from each state, the true unknown whiskeys from each state, like, you know, Brown Forman doesn't need me advertising their whiskey. They don't need anybody talking about their whiskeys because they have a giant marketing company and all these channels that go and do their heavy lifting for them. Give them the free advertising, give them the free notoriety. I mean, fucking Penelope whiskey? It's just another Kentucky whiskey. They have a good marketing department. They're another Kentucky whiskey. um, uh, yeah, but if you go to the actual distilleries, the places where you can't, I mean, and it sounds so fucking whiskey snobbish when you say it out loud, but when you go find the whiskeys that other people, like, legitimately can't find, that's when you start finding the real jewels, the real gems. The places that are like the local distilleries that are doing things that are new and unusual, and, you know, they're aging it on site in a climate that's different from Tennessee or Kentucky or wherever the hell. You know, the Jones County up in New York, or hell, Jones County, Kentucky, for that matter. I mean, if you can get them to drink it, if you can get them to try it, if you can just get them to try it, then the hype doesn't matter. I mean, the only thing that really matters is the taste. And if you can get through the hype, if you can get past the hype, if you can slow them down long enough for them to try it, you can almost all get them to buy it. I mean, I had a guy yesterday who bought $140 worth of whiskey from the brothers in High, Texas. $140 worth of $70 bottle of whiskey. Wouldn't even try this. Cost half the price. It's hype. Pay that much for a bottle of whiskey, you're paying for hype. Especially if you're so close-minded you won't even try something else. Because I guarantee if he actually tried that whiskey, if he drank what he bought, he would know better than to pay $70 for that bottle. And that's not saying that they don't make good whiskey out there. They do. They make really good whiskey. But the liquor stores take advantage of the hype train. They will charge $70 for a $50 bottle of whiskey every day of the week. And sometimes that hurts brands, because if you pay $70 for a $50 bottle of whiskey, you buy a lot of regret and disappointment. And if you're buying regret and disappointment in your bottle, then that is a purchase that is non-refundable. You own that. But when it comes to Crown and Jack, and when it comes to Crown and Jack and Evan Williams and things like that, those are reputational buyers 100%. They're habit purchases. They're people who buy. There's like 3 different types of buyers. I used to say there was 2, but there's really 3. There's the habit buyers that buy this because that's what they buy. I'm a Crown drinker. I talked to this one guy yesterday. He's like, I said, you want to try my whiskey? He's like, no, I'm a Crown drinker. I'm like, oh, so you don't really like whiskey? He's like, no, I like whiskey. I like Crown. I'm like, okay. How do you drink your Crown? He goes, oh, I drink it with Coke. I'm like, so you don't really like Crown. You just drink it with Coke. It's a habit whiskey. He doesn't really like whiskey, but he drinks Crown and Coke. That's what he drinks. If he really liked whiskey, he would drink whiskey, but he doesn't really like whiskey. And, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I get that. That's not my market. That's not my market of people. And it's informative to me, and at the same time, I'll give you a little bit of shit, because you deserve it. But those are people who don't really like whiskey. They buy it out of habit because they have a drink that they buy. They have Jack and Coke, or Evan and Soda, or Evan and Coke, or whatever. They don't really like the whiskey. They buy it out of habit. They drink it out of habit. This is what they've always had. This is their drug of choice. Whatever. Not a whole lot of people who drink whiskeys out of the bottle. And some of those habit whiskey guys and gals are, they just do it because they've always done it. They don't know any better. Some of them don't really like it. That's just the cocktail that they drink, whatever, they drink it. Fine. And then you have your status buyers that would rather pay $100 for a bottle of shitty whiskey than $50 for a bottle of good whiskey, because the $100 bottle of shitty whiskey is $100. status. They would rather buy a bottle of Blanton's that they'll never drink, that they can show off to their friends that they have a bottle of Blanton's, than a bottle of Jim Beam that they'll actually drink, or a bottle of Still Austin, or a bottle of something that they'll actually drink. They'd just rather do that. They'd rather spend $100 on a bottle than actually drink something good. Because the $100 bottle, they can, slap their dick on the table and say, I spent $100 on this bottle of whiskey. And I get those guys every once in a while, and I tell them, if you just want to spend $100 on a bottle of whiskey, you can give me 70, and then take the rest of the money and go down to the cashier and give them 30. That's fair. And then the other kind is the real choice drinkers. These are the guys that'll, a lot of them drink scotch because they'll drink a different bottle of scotch every month or every other month. They look at the labels, like what you said, Addie. They'll look at the labels on the wine and they'll buy it because it looks different, it's unusual, it's new, it's something they're willing to try. They like the exploration, they like the curiosity. Those guys are tough because they may not buy the same bottle twice in 5 years. I love them. They're the ones, they're easy to sell because you're like, this is new. Would you like to try it? And they're like, yep. Before I even finish what I'm saying, they'll just about snatch your hand. I love those guys. They're the guys you see that are in there. They spend 45 minutes. 45 minutes in the whiskey aisle, shopping, considering, pondering, reading labels, thinking about it, and then they'll grab some dusty bottle from the back of the shelf that you never heard of. And there's some people who like to act like that's who they are. They spend 45 minutes and then they leave with a bottle of Jim Beam, and it is okay to judge those people harshly because they deserve it. $1,300 on a cell phone with a $200 cell phone. It's very much the same thing with Apples and stuff like that. But my hunch is that most of the market depends on the stores you go to. Like, most of the market is still going to be the habit guys. I mean, Jack and Evan Williams and these guys, Jim Beam's a $9 billion company. They got bought by Suntory for $9 billion. There's most of the market, those market guys that they just buy whatever they've had for their whole life, and they define themselves by what they drink. I am a Jim Beam guy. Like, there's no accounting for taste. That's fine. I can't ever imagine defining myself by a brand, but go for it. Do it. I mean, I kind of do. I'm the Old Humble guy, like, literally. But, I own the company, so I'm allowed to. I am the company. I would never go so far as to call myself a Ford guy. I own a Ford, but hell, I'll buy a better car in a heartbeat. Those are easy to find. Hang on a second, I heard something weird. I heard a distinct rustling in the grasses across the street from the shop. But there's nothing there, unless it's very camouflaged. But yeah, I mean, that's always going to be the biggest market. It's just, they have a huge market, they have brand identity, they have notoriety, loyalty, huge merchandise, huge sales, lazy bartenders that stock their bar with that shit. you know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the drinks. They make good cocktails, but I wouldn't drink it for what it is. You know, there's better whiskeys to drink on the rocks. There's better whiskeys to drink neat. And I've always said, if you can't drink it neat or can't drink it neat or on the rocks, then you shouldn't really worry about putting it in a cocktail. You can, probably the best way to drink it if you can't drink it neat or on the rocks. But, and that's not intended to sound snobbish. It's just, you know, if you don't like chicken, no amount of seasoning is going to change the flavor of a chicken. It's going to be like chicken with seasoning. That's it. And the day that the scales drop from your eyes, and you're like, wow, whiskey sours can taste good. Like, yep. Look what you've been doing to yourself all this time, man. You don't have to accept mediocrity. You can choose good. You can choose really good stuff. You can choose shoes that fit you well. You can choose pants that fit you well. You can choose shirts that fit you well. You can choose food that tastes good. You can choose whiskey that tastes good. You can choose mattresses that aren't lumpy. You can choose, you know, pillows that aren't uncomfortable. You may not be able to choose all this stuff at once. Like, it may not be in your budget to get, you know, bespoke clothes every month or a brand new mattress and a brand new pillow and but, you know, damn, what are you wasting your money on? And, you know, some people live paycheck to paycheck and they can't go and just, like, splurge on the little luxuries, but guarantee if you have something that's important to you, you figure out a way to do it. And if your personal comfort, your personal taste palette, you spend $10 a month on Hulu so you can watch one TV show when you could just not watch that one TV show. Save $10 a month on Hulu, and then get yourself something nice at the end of the year. Or just fuck it, watch Hulu. You know, entertain yourself however you want to. Guarantee if it's important to you, you figure it out. And for most people, mediocrity is fine. It's true. For most people, hell, me included. I'm not saying that I eat high-end luxury food all the time. Hell, for lunch, when I leave at 2 o'clock in about 30 minutes, when I leave here at 2 o'clock, I am probably going to eat ramen noodles and tuna fish. How's that for high-quality fucking food, huh? Ramen noodle and tuna fish. And on the way home from Baybrook, I am probably going to stop at Popeyes and get a chicken sandwich. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So as you can see, the part of this process that takes the longest amount of time is clearly the shrink seals. Because I just labeled up the front and back of all these bottles in about half the time it took me to do the shrink seals. So now the final step of the process is getting them in boxes. I'm gonna put this label machine here. What else we got in chat? Oh, losing the taste buds and not being able to drink whiskey sucks. Or not being able to taste whiskey, that sucks, man. I feel for you, brother. I do. That's That's a special kind of hell. That's like a 7th level of hell shit. That sucks. Um, all right. So now we bottle or box. We box up the bottles. I wipe off the top of each bottle. See, here's the thing. Each one of these bottles was here in the distillery. And the distillery is mostly open air. It's not completely open air, but it's mostly open air. So we have dust that settles on the bottles. And the bottles are, they're glass. So they are, they electric neutral, ins, electric insulators. They'll hold a static charge, but they won't discharge it, which means it will collect dust. And one of the things I do when I go to stores is I make sure the bottles are not dusty, because dusty bottles look like shit. Might be a little dust on the bottle. Don't let it fool you about what's inside. Yeah. My apologies. See, bourbon. That's your opportunity to get rid of all the stuff that you know you don't like. You just roll down the list of things that taste like crap, and you're like, I don't want to pour it out. I don't want to give it to anybody else, but I can't taste it, so bottoms up. Start drinking Jack out of the bottle. That's good. And drink some of that whiskey, man. You got a bunch of bottles that are half full. Drink them. I need to make sure I've got my list of names updated real quick. I got Ron, Square Table, uh, Easy Street with Gin. Close that screen. That's exactly what I'm saying. Drink that expensive garbage that you got. The Yellow Rose did make a bourbon called what was it? Outlaw Bourbon, I believe is what they called it. That was like mostly corn, and it was interesting all by itself. I haven't had a live since last Wednesday, huh? Which means the last time this was updated was, I guess it's fully updated. Yeah, it was last updated on Thursday, so this is my list is fully up to date. Um, okay, well it's been a while since I've had it, so I know how those batches are. They're always different. Every time they come out, they're a little bit different. Um, all right, so I'm bringing up the list. We've got Ron, Square Table, Addie, Jen, and Steve. Here we go. We'll get all these names updated real fast. Then I'll get back to work because I need to finish I'm getting hungry. Son of a bitch, I'm hungry. Down, over, up. Easy Street, Square Table, Steve. Uh, EZVOUS. I think that's everybody. Steve, Ron, Square, Addie. Yep, we're good. All right. These bottles boxed up and out of the way. And then all I got to do is tape them up, stack them up, and that's that. I have noticed in the production of whiskey that I get a sag in my table. I need to put a brace in the middle of this table underneath it, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. Probably just a 2x4 is all I need. Probably just the one right here across the middle. And it's an 8-foot table, 4 foot wide, 5 foot. It's a good sized table. A very excellent table, if I do say so myself. Top-notch construction from a master at acting like a carpenter. Wish I had a glove for this. That'd be cool. One of those cotton gloves. All right. 4 down, 4 to go. I played a little Fortnite last night on the Twitches. I played like shit. Finished a few quests. Got kind of cranky. I wasn't having any fun anymore. Turned off the Twitch stream. Played a couple more games. Still sucked. I hate that game. We just had a new update on the Fortnite, and it's like all the kids are out playing, especially at night. And it was like, I was playing like hot garbage the whole damn night, but it didn't help that the competition was better than usual. So, yeah, I'm hoping I'll be able to get back to it in a couple of days and not suck like ass. I'm hoping. But we'll see. We shall see. Boom. All right. Next. All right. Last 2 cases, 3 cases. Wrap it up for the day. And I have to go check my inventory, clean up, eat some lunch. I may not even bother with the ramen. I may just stop by Wendy's, grab myself a little heart attack sandwich. Maybe I'll do the chicken sandwich for lunch. I'll come home and have some cereal or do the ramen noodle when I come home. last 2 boxes. See, it's not oppressively hot right now. The temperature right now is probably mid-90s. Hey Siri, what's the temperature? 95 degrees, mid-90s. Which isn't too bad considering it's August and it's usually in the upper 90s. But when I left at 5 o'clock yesterday, or 4 o'clock yesterday, it was 100 damn degrees at 4 o'clock. And it was 103 at 5 o'clock when I made it to the store on the west side of town. This heat, when you get up into the hundreds at 5 o'clock, when you're in the hundreds, that is just straight up disrespectful. That is just nature telling us that it doesn't give a shit what we're up to and what we're doing. It's just going to be hot. And it's just like, fuck you. That is just rude. Straight up rude. My poor air conditioner and my poor little car is just like galloping, trying to keep up. You gotta have it set on like 71, 72 degrees, and it's just like, nah. You gotta set it down lower. Bless its little heart. It's so damn hot that the air by the window isn't cooling off. Like as it heats up coming through the window of the car, it just doesn't cool off fast enough. So there's like this layer of heat around the windows inside the car, just like perpetually. It sucks. All right. That is that. All right. Oh, this is on Top Chat the whole time. All right. So we've got 8 cases of whiskey that we boxed up today. I probably have another 7 or 8 in that barrel waiting to go out. And then I probably have another 12 or 13 in my middle container back here, ready to go into the barrels and ready to get done. So the next thing we have coming into the distillery will be our Boomtown Bourbon. Let me move back a little bit. Switch over to this camera here. The next thing we have coming into the distillery will be our Boomtown Bourbon. Click. There we go. And the next project that I have here at the distillery will be preparing our barrels for receipt of the bourbon. So what I need to do for that is I basically boil water, and then I pour the water into the barrel. I boil the water, pour the water into the barrel so the barrel will soak. It will be wet and it'll expand. That way when we put the whiskey in the barrel, it won't leak through the outside of the wood staves. It basically cures and seals the barrel. Swells it, cures it, seals it. And that'll be next week. And that takes about a week. It takes about a week for that process to be fully completed. And then after that, we drain the barrels, and in goes the bourbon. Bourbon goes in the barrels, and then we do it again a month later, and we'll do it again a month later. And we'll have a steady supply of 3 months' worth of bourbon. And then a batch of our Ghost Town Bourbon will be coming out sometime during that same process. We've got some shit going on, guys. It's going to be fun. It's a fun time to be in the Old Humble Distilling. It's a fun time to be in the whiskey business. But right now, guys, it is 20 till 2. I've got to go eat some lunch. I've got to get some inventory numbers. And I got to get to the Baybrook Total Wine to do a tasting. So, and then I'll be back, and we're going to do our happy hour, our whiskey happy hour, where we will be talking about Spiro Agnew, and that whole saga, and what was so exciting and cool about that saga. And I'm sure some current events are probably going to come up because it is relevant to current events as well. Be awesome to each other, always and forever. And don't forget to love with your whole heart, think with your whole brain, and just in general, drink better whiskey. Cheers, and see you later tonight. Bye.